So, Christopher, I'm in the Chicago area too. I'm in the northern suburbs.
Excellent. Same. So I split my time between Lake County in Grays Lake area and then also DeKalb at Northern Illinois University.
Oh, got it. Okay.
Where are you located?
My office is in Northfield.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm familiar with Northfield. I know some folks that work for Jocelyn Center
Oh, it's next
in
door.
Northfield.
I can point to well, they moved. They were back there, like literally right behind my office. And then they moved up the street now. So
Oh, when did they move? I'm
they're
not
in a
up to
big,
speed.
I don't actually know, they're in a big building, maybe quarter mile north.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've got a living room program down there if you're familiar with that.
It's right over there behind my parking lot. So
Yes. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. So
Interesting how these
you've been right by my office if you've been over here.
absolutely, yes. I stopped by. I know one of the folks that a couple of the people that work there, and they asked me to stop by and take a look at the facility and stuff and just network and stuff. So yeah, that's stomping grounds for me in some respect.
Cool.
We're creating connections, we're making friends, and there's it's so synchronicity. I mean, there's so synchronous this coincidence that all the proximities and the connections that have already been made, even prior to this meeting. It's amazing. Diana Mendez is also a co-facilitator. Now, say hi, Diana. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay. Good afternoon. Thank you, or good evening now. It's so great to see everyone again. I'm a family peer advocate, and I'm just here. I'm looking forward actually to listen to and getting some financial help from you, Ellen. So what I do is my lived experience is raising now he's an adult. He's actually in the meeting, Mark Anthony Mendez, and on the spectrum, didn't speak, and now he's independently living on his own. So it's been a journey, 25 years, but also worth it. And I'm here for
Beautiful.
resources if anyone needs resources for anyone that have children on the neurodiverse, you know, spectrum. I'm here. I'm here. Just put whatever you need on the chat, and I'll be checking the chat as well. But it's good to be here. Thank you, Dan, for having me.
Oh yes, Diana. I made you a co-host, and Christopher, I made you a co-host.
Okay.
Um, okay, it's 6 o'clock. We'll start in 5 minutes for the stragglers, and I just want to say hello to Jonathan without an F, just plain old Jonathan. How are you doing, Jonathan?
Hey, good, thanks. Good to be back at the Peers United meeting. Thanks. I look forward to this meeting and, you know, picking up some peer support outside work.
Jonathan, guess what this special meeting is about?
I saw your email. It was a pretty good description about like finances and being a person in recovery and being a peer and so forth. So that's good. I'm here to, listen and pick up some peer support.
Okay. So Ellen, I'll share when I introduce you. I'll show you the flyer. I'll be reading from the flyer and I'll put it on the screen. And that's the flyer I sent out through the massive email. Um, and this is the information I got about this meeting. And it has I took your bio and some other stuff and I threw it all together.
You did
You
a
did a
great
good
Um,
job.
oh, thank you, thank you.
great
Let's see,
job.
who else do we have here? Rudy. Hello, Rudy. How are you?
Hey Dan, how you doing? Hi everyone.
How you
Ah,
feeling, Rudy?
I'm okay.
All right. All right. Did I miss anybody? Well, we got Mark Anthony, but Mark Anthony's probably frying up some shrimp right now. Because I mean, I did the same thing, but I sauteed them.
honey,
Let's see. Yeah, I made a nice salad with like all kinds of vegetables and some dill and lemon juice, and I threw cooked shrimp just with like salt and pepper, a little olive oil. I made the shrimp and threw it on top. And what else did I put on there? Oh yeah, feta cheese. Oh, and there's garbanzo beans, you guys. Oh my God.
are you? Well, you're not bigging because you said that you put shrimp, right?
Yes, I put shrimp.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right. That sounds good.
Thank
Sounds
you,
really good.
thank you. Yes, it's quite delicious. Um, all right, let's see. So we have 2 more minutes, Ellen. 2 more minutes. This is so exciting. All right. Let's see. Is there anyone I missed? No, no, no. That's it. Okay. So it's just a patient waiting. Now, Ellen, if you'd like to engage anyone within the
Yeah, so and maybe you'll be saying this in the introduction, but a couple of you mentioned things that you think we're covering tonight. I can answer questions about them, but we're not going deep into budgeting or financial literacy. We're doing what I like to think of as the roots of the tree, like getting our mindsets and beliefs around money set, because I think that's what really helps grow healthy financial habits. So I do have a background as a financial advisor, so I can answer tactical questions, but that's not where my intention is for our conversation today. So I hope that's okay with you all.
Absolutely.
All right. Hello, Jack. Hello, Jack. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you very much. Sorry for
Jack.
being a tad late.
That's okay, Jack. We haven't even started yet. Jack, how did you discover us?
You know, I was just trying to trace back where the original alert to this came from. It was in an email, some announcement, but I can't find the original. Fortunately, I had put the URL into my calendar, so I was able to connect.
Lovely. What state are you in, Jack?
Oregon.
Oh, welcome, Oregon. Okay. So we have Chicago, Oregon, New York, and Boston, and which is Massachusetts, you guys. Oh, we have 1 minute before I introduce Ellen. All right. Let's see who else comes in. All right, it is time, you guys. Hello and welcome to a Peer Workers United group. This is a support group for people who are peer specialists and peer support workers, people with lived experience in mental health and addiction challenges who are professionals and offering peer support in a professional capacity, and for people who are interested in peer support. Today, we have a special meeting. It's called Money as a Friend, Shifting from Lack to Flow with Ellen Rogin. Join financial expert Ellen Rogin for a powerful live chat where money meets intuition. With 20 plus years of experience, Ellen helps you. I'm sorry, Tanner. Ellen helps you shift from scarcity to abundance, ease financial anxiety, and invite prosperity with confidence and joy. Get ready to transform your money mindset and co create with a new relationship with wealth. Welcome, Ellen.
Dan, thank you so much. I really do love what you wrote there, and I really love that you titled this "Money is a Friend" because there's lots of ways that we think about money, and for many people, it's not as a friend. It might be a necessary evil or things like that. But here's the thing: you and money are a thing. So my mom, when she was alive and would talk about couples, she'd say, "Oh, Bill and Joan, they're a thing." It's because, when someone was in a relationship, well, we all have a relationship with our money, and it impacts really every part of our life, right? It can impact our personal relationships. It's the number one cause of divorce. It can impact our business relationships, about how you're being compensated, if you're in your own business, how you're charging for things. It can impact our health. Um, Almost half the people in a recent survey said that money causes them distress in their mental health issues because it can be stressful for them. So when we can create a better relationship with money, everything can flow more smoothly with your money. So I really want this to be an interactive presentation tonight. It's not really a presentation, but a discussion. So if you think about your relationship with money as if it were a personal relationship, almost even a romantic relationship, how would you describe your relationship with money? So, for example, is it a loving, caring, best friends kind of relationship? Is it a relationship that is one where you're like a jealous partner? You look at what other people have and you're like, oh, I wish that was me. I gave a workshop last summer in Chicago, and one of the women there said that she had a promiscuous relationship with money. Like she was just looking for a hookup with her money and she wanted it there when she wanted it, but otherwise she paid no attention. So pause for a moment and think about if your relationship with money was like a personal relationship, and use that as a metaphor, how are you showing up as a partner for money? How are you showing up as a partner for money? We often think about what money can do for us, but in any relationship, it's a two-way street. So if any of you would like to share, I'd be really curious with this new frame, how do you think you might be showing up in your relationship with money?
If you would like to respond, oh, go ahead. Yes.
Yes, Ellen, I'd like to say that my husband and I we're almost 40 years together, and I'm currently not working, but he is, and it's been a blessing. But we've lived a good life, and the way we look at it was the last person that you mentioned, it sounded more like us, that we work and we burn it. And then every 6 months we're like, okay, where did the money go? So there's no direction, like just living every day, and that's the biggest no-no ever, because you have to think about retirement, and with things going right now, with the stocks going up and down, it's a lot. But we don't pay a lot of attention like we should. So I just want to be transparent on that.
Well, thank you for sharing that, Diana. And one of the things we'll talk about a little bit later is about how we talk about money in our relationship. And, for you to say that's a big no-no, I would say, let's reframe that to like, okay, in the past, you and your husband maybe have not made the decisions you'd like to make going forward, but it doesn't mean you can't repair your relationship. Because here's the thing, money tells me all the time that it is there for people and it doesn't hold grudges. So I talk to money, money talks back to me. It may or may not be part of your belief system, but even if it's a helpful metaphor for you. And it never has said, oh, I'm punishing Diana and her husband. They're never going to, I'm pissed at them because they weren't paying. No, it's like, okay, so you've learned from that. And there's ways that you can shift that relationship for sure. And it's not uncommon what you're experiencing or what you've experienced in the past. So I appreciate you sharing that. And would anyone else like to share with us what your, if you
Yes.
thought about,
Oh yes. Yes, I had my hand raised and I
oh,
put it in the chat.
great, thanks, Gail.
You're welcome. Yes, yes. For me, I feel like the money is could be the root of evil, that you could say, because my grandmother grew up in the Depression, and a lot of my relatives, they used to hide money under the bed, So sometimes I feel like if I in a relationship, I would say like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, or like a rapist, like go extreme. Because because if you have an addiction, you could just spend it all in one place, but I've been getting stipends with gift cards, so I could compare it to like when somebody gets plastic surgery and it's not the real thing, the plastic, you say. So the plastics I do better with, because I know it's If I kind of play money, because I get it as a gift, like a Target card, or I get like a Visa doing a study. So I kind of feel more comfortable. And the paper money, I get, it gets me anxious because I know I could spend it all in one place easily if I have an addiction, and you could control it like any other addiction.
Interesting. So one of the things I heard you say, Gail, is, I heard growing up, money is the root of all evil. Like we've all heard things growing up. It's really, money isn't the root of all evil. It's how people have used it in the past. That's one of the things I like to think about is money could be like a really sharp kitchen knife. Dan was telling us what he made for dinner, and sounds like he really likes to cook. And a kitchen knife could be like the most helpful tool, or it could really hurt us, right? It depends on how we are with it.
Yeah.
And these things we heard and saw growing up around money make a huge impact on what shows up for us. So we'll come back to that. Thank you for sharing, Gail. Is there anyone else that would like to share, just if you're thinking about how currently or in the past you felt your relationship with money was, if we're comparing it to a personal relationship?
Now, Christopher and Diana, I would like to step back and observe right now. So I leave it to you guys to run the meeting, encourage people to talk. I know I have a relationship with money, but that I'm just a host, so I'll stay in the background unless there's complete silence. So Christopher, Diana, you guys are running the show.
I'll certainly offer Diana an opportunity to go first if she has something pressing she wants to share. When I think of money, it conjures up a lot of thoughts, and I don't want to ramble too much, but I'll offer the floor to Diana first, and then I'll share some of my deeper thoughts about money.
Oh, you're muted, Diana.
You just reminded me, and so did you, Gail, that I grew up, on welfare. Things were hard, and I think that I took that with me, and as I became an adult, I've been working since I was 14 years old, and I'll be almost 65. And I'm like, my mother went through this, but I'm able to buy me this, and I'm gonna buy me this, and you know what I mean? And it's not good. But I'm blessed, and I wake up every morning grateful that I'm able to do it. But I'm not frugal with my money. I'm like giving it out, helping people, and I have to really check myself. And when you said what you said, and Gail, our upbringing plays a big role on how we handle, our outcome right now. So thanks for reminding me of that.
Yeah, so it's a really good segue into a framework that I like to think about our relationship with money, which is one where there's really 4 parts to it. Here, I'll show this on my screen. It might be a little bit more helpful. And you might, if this is hard to see, you might want to go speaker view for just when I'm showing slides. But the framework is being aware. So what I heard from all of you that shared was, aware is what we're thinking and feeling about money and being conscious of it. So I'm aware that I was spending, or I'm aware that when I use dollar bills, it's harder than when I use a gift card. That's an awareness. The next part is being clear. So using our mind as a tool for creating what we want, being clear with visioning. We're going to go through each of these in our time tonight. Taking care of money. So we'll spend a little bit less time on this tonight, but it's really important. If Diana, I hope it's okay, I use this as an example because you've shared. But if money was in a personal relationship with you, and if we personified it and made it like a person, it might say, well, you must not care about me that much because you keep like spending me with abandon, and like, using me, just going and spending for things that aren't necessarily what you value. I'm making this up a little bit, but caring about our money is the practical part. Someone, and I'm sorry, I don't remember who said that tonight was about budgeting. It's not actually about, we're not going to talk a lot about budgeting. Because I actually don't believe budgets work for anyone. It's like the word diet, it feels icky for people. But knowing where your money's going matters, and being having a values-based spending plan, like really deciding, do I really care about this? Am I spending it on something that's important to me? So that's care. So it's aware what we think and feel about money, clear on where we want to go, what's important to us, using our mind as a tool. Care, this is the tactical part. We live in a material world and we can't just envision everything working out, although that's a powerful tool. You have to take care of your money. And share. And this is the generosity part. Which Diane, which I heard you say, like, I give it away to people. There's the positive side of that as well. So the aware part is, if we think about money being, if we think about scarcity thinking and abundance thinking. So let me define this a little bit. And I'm showing this river because I like to think about scarcity thinking is going against the current, and abundance thinking of going with the current. So scarcity thinking tends to be fear-based, like, oh my God, the stock market's so scary, and oh my God, the news is so scary, which it can be if you focus on that. I'm so afraid I'm not going to have enough money for down the road. It could be aggressive competition is scarcity thinking. Like, okay, for me to win, you have to lose. There's only so much to go around. Could be being envious. Like, oh, they have this great, beautiful house, or they're taking these fancy trips, and I don't have that. And could be also where you're judging other people for what they have. Like, I think a lot of people were brought up, oh, rich people are evil. Like Gail said, oh, money's the root of all evil. So rich people must be evil. Now you can imagine having that belief system. Why would you ever want to have money if you're a nice person? If you believe that rich people are evil, right? You would not want to, I'm not a psychologist. I don't have any of that background, but I can imagine if you're a nice person and you think it's evil, that at some level you're just getting rid of your money because you don't want to be thought of as a bad person, even though that doesn't make any logical sense. You guys know this, what we
Or
think.
even sometimes, sorry to cut you off, but you made me think, like the fear of the unknown, like they to get off welfare and get a good job, like, oh, well, what if I do succeed and make money, winning the lottery? It's like, if you have money, everybody's going to knock on your door.
Yeah. So why would I want that? Right. So there's these beliefs we have, and a belief is just a thought you've thought over and over and over. And so let me finish scarcity and abundance, and then we can talk about where we get our beliefs from. So that's scarcity thinking. It feels bad. It feels constricted. Then there's abundance thinking, prosperous thinking. There's more than enough to go around. It's optimistic. It's generous. It's grateful. Like Diana also, I heard her say, like, I'm really grateful for what I have. That's beautiful. Money loves it when we're grateful for it. It is optimistic. There's more than enough to go around. Now, can you have a lot of money or make a lot of money and be a scarcity thinker? What do you think? Yeah, you can. It just sucks. Like, why would you want to? Like, we can all think of people that have a lot, they're working all the time, they're super stressed, they're going to lose what they have. They maybe have gotten their money in ways that have hurt other people. But then there's also people who have money and financial security that are generous and optimistic and use their money for good in the world and support their families in beautiful ways. So it's not like one or the other. But we have a lot of beliefs about money that really make a difference for us. And what we believe, what we think and say to ourselves has a direct impact on what shows up in our lives. Let me say that again. What you think and say to yourself has a direct impact on what shows up in your life. creates your reality in some ways. So I'm going to share a story. I was in North Carolina with my husband, and we were walking in this cute little mountain town. And it was in an evening, a lot of the stores were closed. And it's one of those towns that has like cute t-shirt shops and breweries and art galleries. And we're walking into the town, and I could tell my husband was really stressed about something. Like, you know, when you're with someone and you can just feel it on them that they're stressed, and I could almost like hear all the thoughts he was having in his head, even though he wasn't saying a word. And we passed a t-shirt shop with a plaque in the window. And I said, Stephen, you should get that sign. And he looks in the window and says to me, Ellen, why would I get a sign that says, think about what could go wrong? And I looked at him, and this is what the sign said. Think about what could go right. He literally read the sign wrong. But that to him was his reality. Because that's what he was thinking. And so it can cloud how we see things, how we see opportunities. And it doesn't just mean like saying happy things to yourself makes everything different, but it makes things easier with your money when you're going with the current, flows more smoothly than if you're going against the current. And Gail and Diana were talking about like things they heard growing up or how we have these beliefs. And it's said that we develop our attitudes and beliefs, our subconscious beliefs, sometime between conception and age 7, when most of our beliefs, what's playing in the background, we're not aware of it, are formed. That means your money beliefs too. Well before most of our parents were ever thinking about what kind of beliefs we were getting about money, we were taking on messages, right? So some of you had really difficult childhoods where there was poverty and stress. Well, that's going to impact you, whether it's from someone telling you something or something you've seen, whether it made sense at the time it did to your little person self, even if looking back on it now, it didn't to someone else. So, you know, I think about this is what our kids look like right before. I joke that we mess them up around money. They actually are in their 20s now and doing very well. But most of their money beliefs were formed by this age. They were 5 and 7 in this picture, right? And I did say to our son, I did like a little consulting thing a few years back for a big bank, and it was about kids and money. And I said to Benji, who I think he was in college or just out of college at the time, and I said, honey, what do you remember me teaching you about money? And he goes, you never taught me anything about money, which is absolutely not true. I taught him a ton about money, but he didn't even remember that. He ended up being very financially responsible, but it's because our kids see what you develop these attitudes and beliefs from what you heard, what you saw, not necessarily what your parents deliberately taught you or didn't teach you. Yeah. So what are some of the, whether it was in your life or something you heard or just kind of a saying like money is the root of all evil or money doesn't grow on trees? What are some of the things that you either heard or you think people heard growing up around money?
Well, I'm not made out of money. Or I'm not Rockefeller. My mother used to say that.
I'm not Rockefeller. Do you live in New York, Gail? I hear you.
In New York, yeah.
I hear your accent. I'm not Rockefeller.
Yeah, Rockefeller.
Yeah. Yeah. What else?
I love your story, Ellen, about the t-shirt because my daughter made a t-shirt. She's a graphic designer, and what her t-shirt reads is, what if things did work out with a big question mark?
Right, right.
And I thought about what you said about the t-shirt and how our thinking. He actually read it wrong. And what I'm gathering, and you haven't even touched the surface, that I'm totally mismanaging my money. And we just started talking. That's the first thing that came to my mind.
Yeah, so I'm going to come back to you, Diana, and say, I'm learning about money right now instead of beating yourself up about it, because that's all this is. It's a whole learning journey on this.
I just have one last question. I know you mentioned scarcity thinking, and what was the second one?
Abundance thinking.
Abundance.
Going with the flow is there's
Mm.
more than enough to go around. And yeah, and abundance can show up in lots of different ways, even if it's not financial resources. Maybe you can't look in your bank account right now and feel like there's tons of abundance. But I bet you've talked about your 2 kids already, Diana. There's an abundance in that. There's an abundance. Maybe you're in good health. Maybe you can look out your window and see in Chicago right now, a lot of the trees are blooming, and it's such a pretty time of year. Like I look at those blooms and go, oh my God, that's so gorgeous. Like there's abundance all around us. Um, yeah, and we'll talk about ways to lower some of the financial stress in a bit. Yeah. So it might be an interesting activity for you all to go back and think, wow, what was money like growing up? Like what did I actually hear or believe? And is that true? Gratitude is by far the best attitude. We're going to talk about that at the end, Mark Anthony, for sure. I agree with that. And it's a stress lower. It's something that helps lower our stress too when we're focusing on what's working for us versus what isn't. That's a way to go from going against the current to with the current, is to start to move our attention there. And here's the thing. We're evolutionarily programmed to look at dangers, to look at the bad things. That's how we ran away from woolly mammoths. So the fact that it can feel scary or we're worried about things, we just have to really work to have that not be our default.
Dan, you have your hand raised.
Yes, Diana. The question was from Ellen about what was it like growing up in terms of like how the family or what have you growing up viewed money. And for me, my father was like always playing the lottery and this pipe dream idea that he would win big and like all his problems would be gone. But he was in terrible debt. He went bankrupt. He borrowed from money loan sharks, you know, those guys that break your legs if you don't pay them back. And I was like, I do not ever want to be in debt like that. And then my mother was like, she was making good money as a nurse. She wasn't in debt, but with her, like if she gave you some money, she felt like there was an obligation that you had to give her something back. You know, like if she gave you some money, she would feel like, yeah, like it's like there's something owed, there needs to be gratitude shown to her. And so and money was just like, you know, she felt people like were using her for money. You know, even if she would give to somebody without them asking for it, then she later feel like that person's using me, even though in the beginning it had good intentions, you know. So that's my family dynamic with money, Ellen.
Well, so what's one of the interesting things I heard you say, Dan, is, you know, my dad was always in debt and I did not want that. So do you have any siblings, brothers or sisters?
Yes, I have one sister.
So I was giving a workshop years ago, and there was a mom in between 2 of her daughters on either side. And one of the girls said, my mom never worried about money, so I don't worry about money. And the other daughter said, my mother spent money we didn't have. I would never do that. So just like we can interpret things, and I don't know if your sister interprets the same way you do, but we can't. So you know, what I'm hearing also is there was, in some ways, I'm sorry for your father, and there was all that stress around things, but you've interpreted it like, okay, I learned that is not what I want to do in a healthier way. So, yeah, we get some really supportive messages directly or indirectly from our parents, and we get other lessons in things that were good and maybe less than excellent. And I think the part of this exploration is to take what's back here that's running the show that we don't even realize and put it out here. So when I was growing up, my dad's income was what supported the family. And I remember that my mom would ask my dad about spending money, like, oh, can we get this, honey? Like she has permission. And so I grew up, um, fast forward from being a little girl to I'm in my 20s. And at that point, I had my own business. I have all these like financial credentials after my name. And in until I brought things out, I had an unconscious belief that it was my husband's job to make money. And more, I probably couldn't do it. It made absolutely no sense, right? But it doesn't mean it has to make sense because that's what's hanging out back there. So sometimes it doesn't mean necessarily years of therapy. It can just go, that's stupid. That belief doesn't even serve me. It doesn't make sense anymore. I'm getting rid of that. So, but it's the uncovering of it that lets you go, that's really interesting. Like, and you maybe you've thought about this before, Dana, but you said, look, it was really tough growing up. And so I like spending money now. And maybe I've swung a little far. It'll
Right.
feel good to save money too. But like you've already, and maybe you had thought about that in the past, but sometimes people just do things unconsciously without that. And there's a real benefit of starting to unpack some of these things.
Mhm. Anyone
Yeah.
else? Monique, thank you for joining us. Anyone else want to share, about their childhood and how it has impacted them now, the way they look at money, the way they spend their money, and it goes back to what we saw growing up. Anyone want to share? Rudy, JC,
Yeah,
Jack?
this is Jack, and Ellen made me smile when she said, use the phrase of, it doesn't have to take years of therapy. You can just kind of recognize blah, blah, blah. And ever since we've started this conversation, especially the very first question, um, I've sat here and thought, I think I need therapy.
There's nothing wrong with it. I'm not saying that.
Because it truly, as we've been doing this, just a lot of feelings have come up related to how my upbringing, what my family faced, and how they dealt with it. Because to them, to just make it was good. To be able to get by was good, was successful, because we had so little. And we lived out in the country. So it was like money did not hit. I had no good examples for things, concepts of investment or anything like that. And what I did have, though, was an example of how to take care of ourselves. We had a huge garden. We always had food. We didn't have to worry about food. Although when it came to having to buy food, then we had to worry because we didn't have hardly any money. But that didn't ever seem to be a big deal because we always had something. We were always grateful that we were getting by, and we're not destitute. Um, but I know that I saw them, and what I learned by being emotionally connected in my family was that they sacrificed incredibly for me. And now I'm in a situation. I am now a long-standing victim of identity theft.
Mm.
And I have strong feelings of hate, literally hate, for our unlimited, unrestricted capitalist environment. The idea that people can go to such excess and have that even be as a goal, a good, and displace other values. Like, okay, forget democracy if we could just profit, you know. So I all of this is just kind of converging in terms of like it violates my values, that really violates my sensibilities, the way our economic system is currently operating. And for me personally, it has a strong effect because I don't give, I still am in that thing of I'm doing better now than I've ever done. And yet I don't have a lot. And of what I do have, I try to give to others that who benefit, who can benefit, and share like that. So I'm just caught in this quandary, and I'm just sitting here trying to even find a place to start sorting out what we're talking about internally, because there's just different feelings derived from different points in my life that
Yep.
are not so well in sync. Thanks.
Yeah. And what's coming up thank you for sharing, Jack. And what's coming up for me
I'd
with
like to
that
say
is
something.
things like
Oh,
like generosity are a good way to put our attention. Yeah, because we can control what how we react to things, or we try to at least. And there's a lot of things that might feel out of our control. And the words we use about things are really, really important. Does anyone here know what the word abracadabra actually translates into? You're smiling, Christopher. Do you know?
That's a song that was recently released by one of my favorite artists. But yeah, I'll save it for somebody else to answer the question.
I
Ab,
want to reach. I
ab,
want to reach out and grab all of you.
yes.
That's
Ab,
from the song.
So it's got Hebrew and Aramaic roots. And the definition roughly translates into I will create as spoken. So it's like magic, right? We think of like abracadabra. I will create as spoken. And so our words really, really matter. And I've gotten my hearing when people talk about money has gotten more fine tuned. And Jack, one of the things, I don't know if this is specifically what you meant, but sometimes when I'm talking with people, they'll say, well, someone just said this to me the other day. I visualize and I want to have goals to get all my bills paid. And I'm like, and more, right? Like getting by can be a goal, or it could be and more, so that I have money to save, that I can, money to give. But and so what had been her history is putting things together, getting like money to get by, but she never had the extra cushion or to take some of the stress off of her. And so it doesn't mean tomorrow she's going to have everything she wants, but to start with um, a, a different way of talking about money is the beginning of creating a different reality. So abracadabra, I will create as spoken. Yeah. And so one of the things that I've taught my kids and my family, we all have said this for years. If you catch yourself saying something that you would rather not happen, like, oh my God, what if the markets fall and it's like 2008, or there's another pandemic or something we have no control over? A way to stop yourself from that is to say, cancel, clear, cancel that thought, clear it away, and replace it with something else instead.
hello, hello,
Yeah.
Ellen. Can I
Hey,
say
Rudy,
something? This is Rudy.
please.
I want to say something. You were saying how our parents relate to money growing up as a child. Well, when I was growing up, my mother and father always fought over money, finances, who support the children, who's buying the groceries. It was always a conflict about money. And that's probably what tore up my family. My mother left my father because she was taking the load. She bared the load. She was doing most of the load of the groceries and the rent so he was like he didn't really like cared too much about us. And then I had to, must have been about 12 years old. I used to wash cars and bag groceries in the store and make money at 12 years old. And I had a bank account at 12 years old, 12, 13 years old. So, like I was saying, that's how I see it growing up, what was going on in my family. Money, it was about money. We didn't have much growing up, but I had to work when you was young. I was so young. I wanted out, and then I got sick when I came to New York. So when I was young, I wanted to work. And me and my friends, we used to go after school and go to the stores and bag groceries in stores. And like I said, we washed cars after school, and we made money. We had money saved. We had a bank account, and that's all. That's all I wanted to say.
So can I ask a question, Rudy?
Okay.
What I heard you say is like my parents fought about money and we didn't have much, so I went to work when I was 12 and 13. And how do you think now looking back on that, just the positive part of that, how do you think that impacted you as you grew older?
How it impacted me, I don't know. As I grew older, I
Like,
got
or do you
sick.
think you're still have a strong work ethic? Do you think that
I feel like I got sick when I came to New York City. That's when I got sick. I was in school. I did well in school, but when it came to working, it was hard for me to get a job, to keep a job. I was so fixed on getting education. I was good at education. I was very good in school. I went to college, got good dean's awards and stuff in school. But when it comes to working, it was more difficult to keep a job for me. And then my father would support me. Then when I came, he felt guilty, I think, knowing that I wasn't able to work and how I ended up. And he felt guilty. He supported me, but he didn't support my brother and sister. He supported me, though. I guess he felt guilty after the years went by, knowing how I ended up. And my brother and sister was able to work when they came to New York, but I wasn't. So, and I guess that's what happened, you know?
Okay. Thank you for sharing that.
No problem.
So I'm going to move on to, we talked about being aware. So what we think and say, what a difference it makes for us. The next part of the framework is aware. The next part is clear. So being clear on where you want to go and using your mind as a tool. Has anyone here ever heard of the reticular activating system, the RAS? The reticular activating system is a part of your brain, and it's about the size of the end of your little finger, and it's at the base of your skull, and it helps filter information. So, it could be the thing that if you're in a loud area and someone calls your name, even if they're not talking to you, like you turn your head, and because you've learned that's important. Or, yeah, like some of you live in New York City, so you might not drive a lot and have a car. But people have the experience. They'll be looking at a car, they'll buy a new car, and all they do is see that same car on the highway. And it wasn't that they were trying to see it, but somehow their mind got programmed that this was important. And we need our RAS, because if I asked you, what did you not pay attention to today? You're like, well, probably millions of things, billions of things. We can't pay attention to everything. And most of the time we're reactive with our reticular activating system. But you can be proactive. You can start to program it in a way that can help you. So athletes know this. There was a study that was done where they had 3 groups of people throwing free throws, the basketballs. It was a 30-day study, and they had one group that went into the gym and practiced throwing free throws for 30 minutes a day, 5 days a week. The second group went into the gym, sat there, and just imagined throwing free throws for 30 minutes a day, 5 days a week for 30 days. And the last group didn't practice or do any of that. What they found is after 30 days, the first group had a 24% increase in their ability to throw successful free throws. That makes sense, right? They practice more. What do you think the second group did? The people that just visualized them doing better. They got a 23% increase, almost the exact same as the people that actually threw the free throws. And the last group got no increase. So our brains are really powerful. And it doesn't just work for physical things. I mean, athletes know this. Like if you've ever watched the Olympics, you could see the athletes going through the mental rehearsal. But it works with other goals that we have. And it's not just the magic of like, oh, I'm picturing something happening and then all of a sudden it happens. There is a little bit of that, but it's that your brain gets filtered to know it's important for you. So I'll give you a personal example. I've always wanted to go to Australia. I just was so curious and I wanted someone else to pay to go there. It's a long, expensive flight. And I do a lot of speaking. And I thought, wouldn't it be cool if I was hired to speak in Australia? And I would envision this a lot when I give workshops. I'm going to walk you through a moment, a visualization activity. And I kept picturing me on a stage in Australia speaking. And then I got flown over there and it was so much fun. And I did this for many years. For about 2.5 years ago, I applied to speak at an organization I had applied to 4 other times. I was like, no, this is a really good application. They should totally pick me. And I had no idea where the meeting was. And the global meeting was in Sydney, Australia. And I was like, oh my God, this was like, I had pictured it and I took action. I didn't just picture it and all of a sudden a plane ticket ended up in my email box. But what it helped me do, the reason I wanted to go to Australia is because I thought, wouldn't it be cool to live there sometime? So the imagining it over and over had me, anytime I heard someone with an Australian accent, I would make a beeline. Oh, I think I might want to live there. Where would I live? Yeah, I affirmed it over and over. It's exactly what I did. With fun and no attachment, right? Like if it never happened, my life could be fine. So it was doing it with lightness, but also some really clear visioning on it. So I'm going to walk you through an activity in a moment that I call deliberate daydreaming. I was in Ghana several times in a village there, and there was a young man there that grew up in the poorest of poor neighborhoods. His name is Mustafa. And so Mustafa, I was walking down the village with him one day, and I said to him, or he said to me, Auntie Ellen, is it okay that I daydream? And I was like, well, everyone daydreams. What do you mean? He goes, well, ever since I was little. And he grew up, his parents left. He was like studying in a mosque at night because it was the only place that had a light bulb in his whole community. And really, really, really challenging childhood. And he said, I never even knew anyone that went to high school. I used to have to pay for high school in Ghana. But I pictured myself being in university and studying, and I'd be so excited, and I'd come back and do work here in the community. And he didn't know about the reticular activating system. He didn't know about the benefits of visualization, but he ended up with a scholarship to high school that wasn't even a possibility when he was little, and ended up getting a scholarship through the Ghana Scholarship Fund to university, got a degree in engineering, came back to the community, and over he was seeing a possibility for himself. So I named this process a deliberate daydream process after Mustafa. And the first part is knowing it. So in a moment, I'm going to ask you to think about something you want to have happen. It can be little or big. It can be, something small you want to have happen, or it could be maybe you're applying for a job or you want something else good to happen in your life. So I'm going to ask you to think about that in a moment. The next part is seeing it in your mind's eye. I'm going to walk you through a visualization, and I want you to be thinking about it as if you were watching a movie, but you were in the movie. So you're directing it, but you're also in the movie. You're going to see it in your mind's eye as if it's happening right now. So you're playing the movie. It was like me being on the stage in Australia, right? And the last part of this would be feeling it. Feel what you'll feel like and actually feel that feeling as if it's playing out right now. So Mustafa saw himself in university, excited, learning, feeling really good about it. Okay. So I'm going to walk you through this process. You can do this with your eyes open, looking down gently. If that feels comfortable, you can do it with your eyes closed, whichever you feel most comfortable with this. And so go ahead and get quiet in the seat that you're in or laying down wherever you are. And you can gently close your eyes or look down with a soft gaze. And let's just take in a few deep breaths. So breathing in deeply with a really slow, long exhale. Inhaling and a slower, long exhale. Now I'd like you to bring to your imagination, to your mind's eye, your goal, what you would like to have happen. And imagine it as if it's happening right now. And notice where you are. What do you see around you? Are there sounds that you hear? Are there any smells or aromas in the air? Are there other people there with you? If so, who's there? And what are they saying to you, and what are you saying to them? And now, as this is happening in your mind's eye, feel what you will feel like and actually feel that emotion. Is it excitement or joy or peace, whatever it is, and actually feel that feeling. Add any other details you want to your vision to make it feel complete. And before you leave this, just think about what is your first next step to turn this vision into a reality. What is one next step you could take to move this vision forward? When you're ready, you can gently open your eyes, bring your attention back. If this is a goal that is something that you really want to have happen, maybe you want to keep envisioning this for yourself. I've been picturing our time together, right? So that each and every one of you has an idea, something that you can put into action after our time together, that you feel more excited and inspired about money after our time together. So, and I do this a lot before my speaking engagements or big meetings. Yeah. Now I've had people, I had a woman once years ago send me an email the day after a workshop. She got a job the next day and she'd been unemployed for a while. She woke up and it was like, I'm going to just start applying for things. And something happened very immediately. Now I can't promise that your goal is going to happen in the next 24 hours, but it might be cool if it did. But this is a very, very powerful tool. Our mind is so incredible. And so I hope this is a tool that you can take with you after this evening. So how do we reduce any worry or stress around money? How do you reduce some financial anxiety? Because we can all feel it. I mean, I'm relentlessly upbeat. And if I watch too much news or if something happens, it's not like I don't ever get nervous about money. I just have trained myself to find other tools to help reduce that because I know it's not helpful. Worrying is not a financial strategy. It might feel like you're doing something, but there's been studies that have shown that when people's backs are really up against the wall about money and they're really freaked out, which can happen, your IQ actually drops. So you can't make a good decision if you are freaked out about something, especially your money, probably about anything. So how do you start to reduce financial anxiety? Well, you can get some support, right? So you can talk to people in this community. Like, I'm really worried about this. You've got peer counselors. You can, potentially go to a financial advisor. You can talk to someone in your life who's really good with money. We're very secretive about money. People don't like to talk about it. And yet, there was a study done by Empower that found that 75% of people refuse to talk about money with their friends, with their family. And yet 65% said that it helps to create wealth by having conversations about money. But it's taboo. That was one of the things many of us heard growing up, like, oh, don't talk about it. It's not polite, or you shouldn't talk about money. As a result, a lot of times we don't get support with it. Learn more. There's incredible resources out there in terms of ways to learn about money and things that just online. I'm going to in a little bit give you a link to a whole video series that goes into more depth about some of the things we're talking about. Meditating or journaling. I know it doesn't seem like a financial strategy, but I believe my meditation practice is one of the best things I've ever done for my business and my personal financial life, because it helps us. We were talking with Diana before, it helps us be more aware. If we can slow down and look at our thoughts versus being run by them, we can then say, just because I'm thinking it doesn't mean it's true. We have 6,200 thoughts a day, it's estimated, and most of them aren't that positive. And it's just what our minds do. It's how it was formed. It's like gives us all these thoughts. It doesn't mean that they're true. Gratitude. Yeah. So this is such a beautiful strategy. When we can focus on what works for us, and Dan, I was on the City Voices website, and so that whole entry you did on noting what people were grateful for. Money wants you to be grateful for it too. So you could add some financial gratitude. Like, I'm really grateful I have a roof over my head, or I have food that I can feed myself right now, or if I have a paycheck or whatever it is that's coming in, there's usually something we can find to be grateful for, right? And it helps us create more of that. And the last part of reducing financial anxiety is generosity. So I'm not suggesting you give away more than you can afford to give, but by helping other people, whether that's with your time, your talents, or your financial resources, it helps lower stress. It helps loosen your grip on money. Like, if you're always like this, I don't have enough, I'm not going to be okay, how can you ever receive? Right? Now, in the same hand, if you're always giving, 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 and not feeling like it's okay to have, that doesn't work either. They're both important. So generosity, people who are generous actually make more money. Kids that have generative behavior, they want to make things better for other people, are more successful growing up. They have lower rates of depression. Generosity is really an amazing tool. Helps us. There's something called subjective wealth. And that's where when you give money, it tells your brain, oh, I must be wealthy or to be able to give this. And that helps, us feel better about things.
Yeah,
So
I forgot once a year they have like a giving day where you give to nonprofits. I forgot the name of it.
Giving Tuesday, right after Black Friday.
Yes, yes.
They should, yes. Yeah, no, it's great. And we don't have to wait till the end of the year. You know, it could be you're walking down the street and it could be you just make someone else's day, makes everybody feel better, right? You can smile at them, you can give them a warm hello. Yeah. So here I want to give you this link. If you go, you can either open this QR code or go to ellenrogin.com/VIP. And it's Ellen with ELLENROGIN.com. If you make this, if you go to speaker view, which is up in the top corner, you can change this and see it better if you want to use the QR code, or you could just go to ellenrogin.com/VIP. This is a video series where you'll learn how to switch more from abundance to abundance from scarcity to attract what you desire, how to turn your vision into reality. I walk you through a longer visualization, how you can truly care for your money in impactful ways, and how to boost your money intuition. Okay, so I'm going to leave that up for a second. So ellenrogin.com VIP. So that's video series that I wanted to share with you to go into more detail than we could go through tonight. Okay, so we talked about being aware, being clear, and now it's taking care of money. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this. There's lots of resources. When I said before, I don't believe budgets work, I do believe knowing where your money's going is important. I believe that spending money on what you value is important and being careful about that. And I think most people are unconscious when they spend money.
Ellen.
And I'm not.
Oh,
Go ahead, Dean.
We do this thing where we like check in with everyone to see how they're feeling. Let's start with you, Ellen. How's your energy level right now? Do you want to take a little breather?
No, I'm good. I'm happy. I do want to hear how everyone else is doing. This is my favorite thing in the world to do, to share information, but thank you for asking.
All right. Christopher, Diana, you know what to do with everybody.
Okay.
Absolutely. And go ahead, Diana. I want to give you the opportunity to give this one around.
I think this has been wonderful. And I want to hear how everyone's feeling. And then, Ellen, I want to share what came to my mind when I started to meditate and think about what I wanted. But Gail, you want to start with you, how you're feeling?
Yeah, I feel good. Oh, sorry, I have something in my mouth. I actually felt better about money now. I think when I meditated, you know, I feel like I'm more comfortable, and you know, even I always felt funny, you know, giving to charity because I felt like you know, I would lose all my money. You know, like it's a negative thought, but I'm going to think positive, and I'll start giving a little bit more to charity, or even the homeless people on the street.
Great.
Excellent.
Thank
So,
you.
Jonathan, how about you, Jonathan F? How are you feeling?
Feeling pretty good. Knowing that I have such a wonderful relationship with money, watching it just constantly disappear.
Okay, I like your honesty. How about the other Jonathan?
Oh, hey.
Yeah,
Hi.
you.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, I mean, in a way, I consider myself an overachiever. I don't have a whole lot of money coming in, but I carefully buy the best of everything that's not fancy or expensive. So I'm thankful for all that I have, but always a little grumpy. Like, you know, I mean, I think Trump's doing a pretty good job, but I'm in terms of like percentage of taxes, I'm probably paying like 1,000% of what he's paying. So I mean, you know, just a little bit grumpy that, you know, big money people, you know, they don't pay their share, and so I pay much higher percentage of taxes than they do. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it sounds cynical or whatever, but you know, I mean, I, don't know. I wish there was more equality, you know. But
Well, I
you know,
guess
other than that, I mean, I'm all right. But a little grumpy to see people make a lot of money unethically and they think they're owed or whatever. But anyway, thanks.
Thanks for sharing, Jonathan. How about you, Adrian Morgan?
Well, for me, I'm always anxious about everything. So when it comes to money, I'm anxious. And even, even though I try to, I guess, be more relaxed in my thinking, I still have that in the back of my mind, because I've had money and I've wasted it, and I've saved money, then I wasted it. It's been a roller coaster with me and money.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Hopefully, as Ellen said, think about, how we can reduce the anxiety, you know, don't let it get a grip on you. You're doing your best and being mindful. I know I'm going to start being real mindful. Mark Anthony, how were you feeling tonight?
I'm feeling pretty good, and I just want to say that thank you so much for sharing your stories. I'm learning so much actually from I'm learning a lot about how you handle money and me as a person who handles money, of course. I believe money is the root to I do believe that money is the root of all evil to an extent. However, we can turn it around by distributing every now and then to those who may be less fortunate. Now, unfortunately, in a capitalist society, we do need money to succeed and to survive. But also at the same time, look around you that we don't have to, hunt for animals in the jungle. We literally have a city. So with all this money, you do have your bills and your payments. Of course, you have gifts, but every now and then, give back.
Thank
If
you,
you
Mark.
are really grateful for something, give it back.
Thank you. Rudy, would you like to share? Rudy, would you like to share how you're feeling? Okay, so last but not least, Monique, would you like to share how you're feeling today?
Hi, and no, I learned a lot. I'm grateful for that because I kind of was thinking that money is also bad, that people with money are evil, like they were explaining. For some reason, I always spend a lot of money because I kind of don't want to be evil. But this workshop make it really clear to me that I have to change my train of thought because it's just making. I mean, it makes a lot of sense what you explained, and I'm grateful for that. I'm really grateful. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing, Monique.
You're
Ellen, you're working miracles over here.
Are you three going to share how you're feeling? Christopher?
Sure, yeah, I really appreciate this discussion. And for me, in my own personal journey, yeah, I've had some circumstances that I could describe as being financial trauma. And that's not really a discussion point in trauma-related counseling courses that I'm taking, but given the circumstances, individuals having unexpected things happen in their lives, and you go through this your life falls apart and you got to put it back together, and you're broke and fighting and trying to rebuild your life. And I've gone through that pattern multiple times. And I just really think that it's important that we discuss these things, not in the terms of like what you said is like budget and, I'm good with math and budget and everything else. But when mental health becomes a topic, I become a little bit more generous with my money, and I start giving more than I probably should. And I start focusing more on other people, and there's nobody focusing on me. And I love the idea of money as a tool, but like money can become somebody's addiction, it can become somebody's reward. And I really think that we need to just remind ourselves that there's value in the time we spend with each other. To me, I think the most important thing that you can give to somebody is your time, not your money. And we say time is money and stuff. To me, those are not synonyms. To me, money is replaceable. Time is not. Money is something we can earn. We can go back to work. We can make more money. We can next week with a ticket we found in the parking lot. Who knows? But that time is the most important thing. And for me, I guess I don't know. I just want to say thank you, Ellen, for bringing this up, and it'll remind me to integrate what we've learned here into my daily practice as I move forward and try and change my relationship with money a little bit and reduce the stress. So thank you.
Dan?
Thank you, Diana. That was pretty beautiful, Chris. That was really nice. So here I'm just gonna out myself. I'm on like SSI, you guys. And like I budget myself so tightly and I check my bank account. Oh, okay, I can spend $25 today and tomorrow and for the rest of the month. And then I just spent 5. I've got 20 left to spend. And then like when I'm not sure, I'll always look at the Chase account. I'll keep going back and saying and doing the calculation like, okay, $300 divided by 30 days. I can only spend $10 a day, and I wish I had like more money to make myself maybe like from a $25 a day to like a $50 a day spending limit or something like that. But I have to say, I do give to charity of late. I've been giving a lot to, $5 here, $10 here, $5 here, $10 here, whenever, like even when I get like an email, and I know it's like an email blast going to like thousands, maybe millions of people. But if I click on it and go to the website and I look at the website and realize this is legitimate, they have a physical address, they have a phone number, they have a legitimate form for donating, then I'll donate. And I just did that today for $10, and I was like checking Chase, hey, can I afford to donate? But yeah. And this is such a great conversation to have. And if I do and I do have like aspirations to make like 10,000 more dollars within the next 6 months, but all that money would go into the nonprofit so that we could have more successful groups like this and also in-person groups. And that visualization, what I was picturing like our next event, which is going to be like a mixer for people with like life challenges to like come out of their shell and challenge their social phobia. And we would have like these volunteers who would check in with everybody, make sure everyone's comfortable enough to socialize. Oh, Diana knows about that. She's volunteering for that. So that I hope that happens very, very well. In August 1st, you're all invited. And thank you, Ellen, once again. And Diana, why don't you say something?
Chris really, I'm just taking it all in, and Chris, you really put it so nicely, and I've been unemployed. I'm down to the wire, almost 6 months, and now unemployment in New York City is you're there for 6 months, and it's amazing how I'm not depressed, and I'm not watching my money. But my husband is working hard and I'm getting a little bit of unemployment. And so in regards to how I'm feeling, I'm like you, Chris, and Dan, in the sense that I'm the type of person that I truly, truly believe, because I've lived it. I've had so many testimonies that if I have that last dollar and I have to give you 50 cents, I'm okay with it, because it always comes back, whether it's in the mail or a phone call. I'll check your mailbox and there's a $50 check for me. So I always say, Chris, what goes around comes around. Release. I think money needs to be released, and not of course you got to pay your rent. You'd be a fool not to pay your rent, roof over your head. So you can't pay Con Edison on the 20th. You'll pay it on the 25th. You play with your money, but money is to be respected. But I feel deep, deep down that we need to release it. I have family members. I have my sister. I've seen it. I've seen that hoarding, and then I've seen a lot of ugliness behind it. And not good things came out of it. And it's something I've since I've been a child, I've seen it. I'm a public servant, and I'm like, but I see it. I've always been, given, but it always comes back in the most weirdest ways, whether through love, whether that phone call, or whether that check. And I don't have plans on changing, but what I do want to do is really take this money and manage my money seriously, because, then I'd be living in a fantasy land. Nothing good lasts forever. Right?
I don't know if I believe that. I don't know if that's I think life is always changing and there's always
Right.
something to be learned. I might reframe that.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
I like
nothing
that.
lasts forever. We don't last, nothing. Everything's always
No,
changing.
that's what I meant to say. So thank you.
Yes. I want to share a couple things based on what some of the things I heard. Mark Anthony, you were saying about giving back. One of the things I like to say is about giving forward, that we don't, instead of like, oh, I'll give back when I have money. I'm not saying you give money you don't have, but I really believe that generosity precedes prosperity. Sorry. And that this comment of, I also heard you say that money really is the root of all evil. I don't believe that is true. And maybe for some of you that were brought up like rich people are evil, or Monique, you said something about that as well. To spend some time finding rich people that are not. I don't know if you're Oprah fans, she's really generous. She's clearly rich. Warren Buffett is not an evil person. He's someone who, is one of the richest men on the planet, and he lives in this little house in Omaha and has given most of his money to other people. Maybe it's someone not even that rich. Maybe there's people in your personal life you've worked for in the past, but to find evidence of, we can find lots of evidence of the Bernie Madoffs in the world, like the dishonest, awful people. There's lots of evidence of also really good people that are generous out there. And again, it doesn't mean you have to be a bazillionaire, but there's probably people that you've had in your life that are well off and are generous. So I would encourage you to find evidence of them as well. I want to share with you, I mentioned at the beginning that I talk to money and money talks back to me. One of the things I realized is that I'm very intuitive with what's going on with money. What was that, Christopher? I just saw a dollar bill flash. You're just showing me. This is what I do with my dollar bills when I'm waiting for workshops to start. I make dollar bill hearts, origami hearts. Anyway, so the way I talk to money, when I was a financial advisor, I would just have a knowing if people were going to be okay or not and what they needed to hear. And then I would justify it with all the projections and things that we would do for people. And then I realized that I actually have more of an intuitive sense with what's going on with people with their money. And the way that I do that when I'm doing work with people one-on-one, I'll journal with money and I'll ask questions and I just trust what comes through. So I asked money for our time together for this group, what message might be helpful. And as part of it, I'll read what money told me to share, but I asked, like, what are things I should be focusing on? And the two things that I just want to reemphasize is that, but that what we believe about money has a big impact. And being more aware of how you think about your money will have a big impact on you. And that just because you think one thing doesn't mean you can't change it. And I heard Monique say that, like, oh, I'm going to really relook at the way that I'm thinking about this now. Yeah. And so I asked if there was a message that money wanted me to deliver to you all. And this is what came. I love them. I realize that our relationship hasn't always been excellent. And please know that I am there for them. It feels like there is a barrier that they've put up between us. It's not a brick wall, but it's more like a thick, foggy barrier. Please know that we can clear this and be more connected. And I asked, how do they do this? First part is trust that it's possible. It's very possible for you to have a better relationship with money. Please treat me like a cherished friend. And I love that I'm reading this now, and I didn't remember, Dan, that you called this Money is Your Friend workshop. I don't even know if that registered when I saw that. But Money said, please treat me like a cherished friend, not an evil energy, not an enemy or something out of their reach. Start energetically with these practices. And many of you have talked about this today. Gratitude on the ways that they are taken care of. Diana, you have an unemployment check. You've got a husband who's earning money, right? There's always something we can be grateful for. Generosity weekly. How are you making a positive difference for others? When Benjamin Franklin used to say this every morning is, what good shall I do this day? What good shall we do this day? The world needs us. Yes, some of you have talked about your political beliefs or the evilness or okay, that is that. But what good shall I do this day? Right? Because I have a belief that the more good we put out there in the world, that helps to have a turning everything towards going with the current. I think most of the problems, if not all the problems we have in the world, are based on scarcity thinking. I need more. There's not enough for me to win. You have to lose, right? But the more of us that are out there with going with the current, I think that'll make a difference. So how are you making a positive difference for others? So gratitude daily, generosity weekly, attention. In what ways can you take better care of me? So this is paying attention to money. What do you know or believe you should be doing to care for me, but you haven't been? So I'm going to read that question again for you to think about. What do you know or believe that you should be doing to take care of me, but you haven't been doing? All of us have something we could do better with. Right? How could you take better care of money? And then I asked if there was a money mantra for the group, something for you to keep in mind on a regular basis. And this is what came back. Money has my back. Money has my back. If money's your friend, a really good friend, I want you to know money has your back. So if you knew money had your back, how might you treat it differently? What might you do differently?
That's so beautiful. It's almost like you have your little fortune, little, your cards, and that's beautiful that you're taking each, because we're all energy, and just putting it together. And money is the third person, and through you that we're blessed through you. You're just letting us know, hey, I'm your best friend. Let's work together. We can work this out. I got your back. And that's so beautiful, Ellen. That's so beautiful. Mark Anthony, you gonna say something?
I would like to challenge that analogy a little bit, if I may.
Sure.
What if I told you that money is not your friend, but rather it is a special ability and privilege that can be distributed as well as savored for oneself? With great power comes great responsibility. Money is that superpower in which we all can possess to a degree. If we overuse it and abuse it, it can corrupt us. Henceforth, money is the root of all evil. But of course, if we focus more on the empathetic side of things and use our greatest power, which is money, to help other people, then we can save ourselves from the corruption and create a better whole as a whole.
I agree with that. I don't know that I agree that money is our greatest power. It is a powerful tool that we have.
Yeah.
But I think that I don't even take that as a challenge. I take that as another way of expressing something that feels generous and true. That maybe my metaphor isn't landing for you, but it doesn't mean that we're saying anything differently. I don't think, Anthony. I think that's beautiful the way you stated that. And I do see that this is a way that generous, kind, empathetic people can make a difference in the world. And yeah, we could focus on the greed that's out there with money and the power, but there's also lots of good that's happening in the world. So I love that idea of using it as a tool for making a difference.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And like you said, I know we got 3 minutes left, and we didn't, anyone else want to share before we close out?
Hi, yes, I want to say something
Yes.
about generosity. It works really good because my father used to call, when he was alive, he used to call me like a person with golden eggs because I always send him money and a lot of money because he didn't work, or I mean he worked, but he didn't have enough money. But I keep sending him money every single month, and he was so grateful. And I did it with so much love that, like you say, it came back to me in other ways.
Beautiful.
So generosity, giving with heart, with your heart, with love, it comes back in many forms and double, triple, and that's why being good, it always brings a lot of money.
That's